podcast with conversations about real estate, local happenings, and all things Winchester, Virginia. I'm Mark Francis, a local realtor, broker, and owner at Icon Real Estate.
And I'm Megan Eanes, a local realtor and part of the Icon Real Estate team. Mark and I are so excited to share everything that we love about Winchester, Virginia with you. We want you to be an informed, savvy real estate consumer in today's ever-changing market.
If you want local knowledge, you've come to the right place. Welcome to episode number 87.
I know.
For Iconic Talk. And welcome to just all the newer listeners. We keep hearing stories of around town. Mm-hmm. People are listening more and more. And so if this might be your first time you're listening, welcome. And, you know, as the intro says, we love to talk about all things Winchester. And we want you to also understand the real estate world because we're realtors.
Right.
But more importantly, you know, whenever I help a client in the real estate world, I don't treat them like a transaction. It's not just like, I'm just here to help you buy, sell a house, and that's it. There's a service component to things. There's a understanding of how can I help you? How can I navigate this whole process with you? But there's also, how can I inform you about Winchester?
Right. How can we introduce you to the community?
To town. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I actually do. It's fun when there's incoming candidates to look for a job, whether it be the hospital or Shenandoah University or things like that. I love to give tours for free, you know, go around town and just show the streets and show the different neighborhoods and show the area, you know, whether it be a city kind of life or just go 10 minutes out of town and get the country life. And so for somebody that doesn't know Winchester, it's fun. It's kind of fun to give tours.
Oh, it's one of my favorite parts of the job.
Yeah.
I love it because especially when people kind of have an idea or they were, you know, getting transferred here for a job. So they're moving here, but they don't know the area. It's not like they chose the area to move here necessarily. So it's so fun. And then they're like, what? They get so excited.
Yep.
Because, okay, so they, you know, they might be excited about the new job, but now they're going to be also excited about the community.
Yep, about the community.
So much to offer here that a lot of people just don't know about.
And that's really one of the main reasons of why we started this podcast, to help inform the people who don't know about Winchester. Listen to any one of our episodes in the past and you'll learn something about the town.
Right.
Absolutely, you will learn something about the town. Well, that's partly why we exist. But when I give tours, I'll start in our office and we'll go around town and we cruise kind of the fun streets around downtown and the pretty trees. And if it's spring, you get blooming trees. And if it's fall, it's amazing as well.
Right.
But then every now and then you see little things painted on the streets. And I have to point that out because if somebody's new to town and you don't know Winchester, the first thing you say is, well, have you ever experienced Apple Blossom Festival?
Right.
And most of the time they'll say, no, what is that? So part of the tour is explaining Apple Blossom Festival. And if you see the streets painted with little pink flowers, I tell people that is part of a parade route.
Right.
And people are, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that. So year round, and if any of the listening audience, you don't know that, if you're up and down the streets, whether it be Washington or Stewart or Cork Street or somewhere like that, you will see painted flowers. They're apple blossoms, and it designates that's where the parade route goes. So in the tours, I love explaining apple blossom to people.
And if you could find a house on that parade route.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a party zone.
It is, yes.
You can't get out of it. You can't leave town. You are buying a house with the understanding that you will be hosting a party for apple blossom.
Probably on Friday and Saturday.
All day long. I actually helped friends of mine, they might be listening, buy a house 4 years ago now, right before COVID, on the Apple Blossom Parade, and they were so excited about experiencing a party for the parade. They had to postpone their party because of COVID for 3 years until last year they finally were able to host the party. And it's funny because the people that they bought the house from said, now, when it comes around Apple Blossom time, there is a person who has a truck and he parks it right next to your house 2 months in advance.
Really?
2 months in advance, parks the truck there to get the spot, to mark the spot to where like him and his Boy Scout troop or whatever it is would pitch a tent to sell certain food items and stuff, and it's there for 2 months before the parade route starts.
Oh, that is crazy.
Yes.
I haven't heard that before.
So it was almost like an understanding of, well, you're going to have to, if you buy this house, there's going to be a truck that's there
Right.
for 2 months in a row.
So when you see it, it's not a surveillance truck.
Anyway, I don't know why I pulled out that story.
That's
But
pretty cool,
When
though.
it comes to Apple Blossom, how do you explain what is Apple Blossom to people that are from out of town?
I basically tell them it's just a huge parade. Two of them, actually. I believe the firefighter parade is the largest fire parade with fire engines in the country. And so it's not just one, but it's two. It's just a weekend of events, of just lots of people, great community events. It's just where a lot of people just come together. It's just a fun time. It's great for the kids. It's great for the adults. So, I mean, you got Friday, you got the parade. And then, of course, we've got a carnival that goes on for the whole week before then. And what blows my mind is how it used to just kind of be a weekend event when I was younger. And then, of course, we had the carnival a few days before that. But now it's turned into a 10-day event.
Yes, a huge, big 10-day extravaganza. And yes, you have to call it a festival because it is truly, it's signifying the blossoms and the bloom of the apple trees.
Right.
And so sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle, but it's an entire celebration of the town that started almost 100 years ago for this kind of festival and having parades and celebrating spring is here.
Right.
And yes, the town does shut down. And that is also the fair warning that I give people when they're moving into town. Like, you don't understand. Like, nothing is happening on that Thursday or Friday.
Schools are out.
The
courthourt's is closed. If you are buying a house, you cannot buy your house on that Friday.
You don't want to show houses. You don't want to do anything on that weekend. But it's an experience like no other. And I'm sure there's plenty of other festivals around the country that celebrate different things. But this is one of a kind. Famous people show up.
Presidents. We've had presidents here, and presidents' daughters have been the queens of our festival.
So if you haven't experienced it and you're listening for the first time, that is just it's something you have to see to believe it. And luckily, we were able to hear more about Apple Blossom Festival in our interview because we have this time the executive director of the Apple Blossom Festival. And it's really the Shenandoah Valley Apple Blossom Festival is where you're going to call it, right? The Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival director, Brad Veach, is going to be chatting with us. You will learn so much. I'm excited about our chat with him because he's a townie.
He is.
And he cares about the town, he cares about the community, and he cares about Apple Blossom Festival. So
yes, he does.
We are so excited to have him. So here's our conversation with Brad Veach. Well, we are here with Brad Veach, the executive director of Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival. How are you, Brad?
Busy.
Super busy. I bet.
It doesn't really end for Apple Blossom, does it? I mean, when you end in that last Sunday night or whatever it is, you're kind of already thinking, what's coming up next?
Already looking into the future for next year, whether it's trying to recruit bands, just thinking about what the budget's going to be like, trying to look at the economy.
Yeah.
Just everything. You're always constantly looking and preparing.
It's fascinating. I'm excited to have you here because just a lot of the behind the scenes, a lot of people don't know about. They see the parades, they see and maybe read Winchester Star or kind of get a take on like what's happening, maybe a few weeks in advance. But I'm excited. So before we dive into Apple Blossom, let's get to know about you. So who is Brad Veach? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to town even.
I was born and raised here.
Yeah.
Went to James Wood High School, graduated in 1992. And once I graduated, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my career. And so I hung around town and went to Lord Fairfax. And in 95, I went away to James Madison and got my degree there in sports management. With a minor in business. And while I was down in Harrisonburg, I worked for the city of Harrisonburg, and got a lot of good experience there. And when I graduated, I was offered a job with the city of Winchester. And so I took it here just to come back home, and was there for 13 years.
Yeah.
I made my way up to the director of Parks and Rec, and left there in 2013, and done a variety of different things since then. I've a small business, web and app development company, but I also worked down in the General Assembly with Delegate Chris Collins. Worked with Frederick County EDA, and then I took the job pre-COVID, November of 2019. I took the Apple Blossom job.
Oh,
Best
wow.
timing ever.
And I was like, wow, it was, we didn't have hardly anything that
Right.
year. I mean, we did a couple of things leading up to when everything was shut down. But for the festival, during festival week, there was nothing other than just, hey, if you can support the festival to sustain us. But what it did was it allowed me to really look at the financials and to better understand, the festival as a whole, where are we spending our money, where can we save, where do we need to be looking at, whether creating events or doing away with them if they're just not sustainable. So it was just an opportunity for me during that COVID year to just to dive in and take a look.
Well, I love how you're like a townie. That's what we call people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know before we started recording, you and Megan go way back.
Yeah,
so
we do.
there's a history there with you guys of going to the same school together. Yeah,
Right.
And I like twice.
Twice, yeah.
I JMU, right? That's kind of the Dukes down there. But I like how you have that experience and that background, that history and knowledge. I'm not a townie. I moved here 23 years ago, but to see the entire festival evolve and just since I've been here has been pretty cool. What have you seen over the years since you've experienced Apple Blossom growing up in town? And is that kind of the game plan? I mean, cast a vision. Like, what can the town expect in the years to come even?
Well, as a kid, I recall the carnival being there where the Orson Bryant Theater is located. I mean, the carnival was there. Of course, the parades, that was something that was always super fun because the midway and the sights and the sounds and the smells, the carnival's kind of always been around, at least for my generation. One of the things that I really wanted to try to bring to the festival was maybe some sports tourism. I've got a background in recreation and coaching minor and things like that. And so, I wanted to create opportunities for the youth, and it's hard. Anybody that has a kid knows that screen time is up and activity is down.
Yeah.
And at least physical activity. And so, what are things that we can do as a festival to recruit and to create memories for kids? Back when we were younger, there was a whole lot less to do. I mean, I played baseball, and Sunday in the park, we played a baseball game in the park. So to me, Apple Blossom, was just a part of Apple Blossom.
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
it was totally it was different, I still, as a kid, kind of put those two together. So nowadays, what can we do? So we started creating some youth-focused events, esports tournament, partnered up with Shenandoah University.
Cool.
And so we do just an open play down at Bright Box Theater on the Old Town Mall on Saturday of Wine Fest weekend, and then we have a big tournament on Sunday out at the SU esports arena.
Okay.
So, to me, it's like, all right, what are we doing to draw in that next generation?
Community involvement, but family involvement.
Yes.
With parents and children and kind of keeping the nostalgia going, but also having the kids be like, hey, this is the cool thing. I want to come back to my hometown when I'm an adult.
Right, exactly. And, it's about creating those memories. To me, I have a lot of fond memories of Apple Blossom as a child. And what are we doing, or what can we be doing to create those similar types of experiences? And it's totally different than what it was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't believe I'm saying that.
Well,
40 years ago.
Well, you think about it. I mean, there's plenty of family activities that are that exists now. I mean, you think of like the kids, the Bloomin' Mile race and the things that happen on Friday. You think of just kind of the fairs and the festival and how the midways evolved and changed over the years. The fireworks, I mean, you can go down the list of all the things that families do together, right. And it's fun. It's definitely kind of it gives this small town vibe, but people come from miles away.
Well, I love that you guys added tennis. I mean, that
Tennis,
just came
pickleball.
in. Yep, the pickleball. Is pickleball new this year?
Pickleball is brand new this
Okay.
year. Yep, we partnered up with the Winchester Country Club to do that. We're introducing a brand new teen party. I say it's new. Apparently, it was around when we were kids, but I don't ever remember going to it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I remember the teen center,
Of course.
but I don't ever recall going to the teen party. So we're calling it Teen Night Out. We've got Quay Kennerly. His DJ name is DJ Unique. Hanley grad.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Out in California, coming back home to put on a show for the kids.
Nice.
Very talented guy. So we're doing that. We're even broadening and trying to create events that really reflect the community and who is in our community. So this year we're also creating an event called Fiesta Latina, really focusing in on the Latino population. So, what we're trying to do is to figure out ways to create events, sustainable events that either have some type of a fee to it or it's sponsored. So like Fiesta Latina is a totally free event. Anybody can come to it free of charge. There'll be, authentic food, there'll be music, there'll be dancing, all sorts of great things. And so, again, it's all about trying to make sure that the festival represents everybody in the community and that there's something for everyone.
So I'm curious because I noticed that we have another Aston daughter coming. So you've got Bella, who is the youngest. So this is Sean's third trip, third daughter, fourth trip.
Yep, Grand Marshal.
So how do you guys build the relationships with the celebrities? Obviously, he came the first time, probably fell in love. But I mean, who's in charge of that? Who gets the celebrities? How do you guys find them? And
give us the dirt.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. We haven't announced our Grand Marshal. We're still searching for our Grand Marshal right now because people are busy. They cost a lot of money. I don't think folks realize the amount of money that we have to spend for some of the celebrities. Some of them come because they've heard about the festival, but they are, they just, that's usually where you'll get a good deal. They have a friend that, a celebrity friend that says, you got to go to Apple Blossom, they'll treat you like gold. Others are like, we're going to where?
Winchester?
Yeah. Winchester. What is that close to? And we're like, oh, it's only an hour from D.C.
Right.
They're like, oh, okay. But it's a challenge.
So kind of almost some personal connections, friends of a friend's.
Yep.
Are you reaching out to like even agents in Hollywood and just figuring out, hey, just throw it out there?
Yep, we do. We do reach out to agents. We have some folks that we go to quite often. But with the Aston family, Sean came and loved Winchester. And so it was a perfect opportunity for the festival. And this is way before my time with the festival, but they built that relationship. And so that has sustained, the relationship has kind of continued for a long period of time. In fact, during COVID, the Aston family actually did a video for us and said,
cool.
How much they were thinking about us and that, they can't wait, to come back again. And so that gives you goosebumps because, it's like you build those relationships and, it's not superficial. It's really deep. They have a love for Winchester. So, we've had instances, in over our 96 years where, folks do just fall in love and they want to bring all their daughters to be queen.
Wasn't Chevy Chase? Did he have two? Or was it Martin Short that had?
I can't remember. But you've got Tony Dorsett last year, both his daughters have come. So, there is a love, not just locally, that we love the festival, but these celebrities come and they really enjoy and embrace their time here.
And I'm a sports guy. So I like the movie stars. That's fine. That gets my wife excited and she'll come see those people. But the sports figures are fun also. And that's a big draw. Obviously there's some polarizing sports figures that you can come in, Tony Dorsett, he's a cowboy. And it's the rival for the people around here.
Well, I loved it because I'm a Cowboys fan.
Cowboys fans unite. I love it. I'm with you too. I will not share the story right now, but he is the reason why I'm a Cowboys fan. One of the reasons. Oh. So I'll get there one day on this episode, but maybe not now. Anyway, but I love the sports. So is it the same connections of how you bring in the sports guys?
Very similar. Quick story. Marcus Allen was here years ago, and he shared his enjoyment with others, and that's how we've gotten some of the other players here, Eric Dickerson being one of them. So certainly, again, we show them a good time. We just make sure that they're a part of the community when they're here, and they go back and tell their friends about their experience, and that certainly helps us as we try to reach out and market the festival to these.
And talk about like the big events too. I mean, because then there's the sports breakfast, and over the years how that has blossomed and evolved over time, and how other big events that are just big ticket items that people gravitate towards. Yeah,
sports breakfast is one of those big ones. We had it different places, but now we found a home up at the SU Event Center. Yeah. It's indoors. Yep. It's not under a tent. It's comfortable.
Right.
And so, we're, 1,200-1,300 people come at 8 a.m. that morning to hear the sports guys and gals try to talk about their experiences, their words of encouragement, motivational speeches. So it's a good event. It's a great event. Some of our events that are big, like for years, I was talking about Weekend in the Park and playing baseball. Mm-hmm. Well, we retired that event this year. 7 out of the last 10 years, total rain out. And so it's kind of become, it's frustrating for one thing.
So there will be no Weekend in the Park this year?
No Weekend in the Park.
Wow.
So we have transitioned because we have the SU Event Center. We actually are going to be, we've got Michael W. Smith, and Cochran and Company coming in.
Yep.
First big concert,
right.
Contemporary Christian concert. And so we're going to do that. We kind of dismantled Weekend in the Park, Bloomin' Sunday is what we called it most recently, and we've kind of taken those different components like the kids area. We're tying that in with the Fire Truck Rodeo. We've got the car show. It's actually not going to be our car show anymore. We're partnering up and helping to support the Winchester Police Department and their foundation on Memorial Day weekend. So there was 2 car shows kind of back to back. There's no reason. Ours was, because the weather was starting to turn south, but they've got one that they're just starting, and it's just a couple of weeks after ours. So, we supported them, went out, tried to help get some extra sponsorship because they're raising money for their summer Kids and Cops camp, and positive things that we could get behind and support. So we kind of dismantled that and put the different pieces. Our arts and crafts show will be Wine Fest weekend in Old Town. This is the first time we're doing that this year.
Cool.
We were down to about 30 crafters. We have almost 100 registered for Wine Fest weekend.
Yeah.
And so what we did was we worked with the city to move that event to the south end of the mall. There sometimes some of the folks, business owners, merchants on the south end don't see as much activity. Well, that's a perfect place for us to be able to set up that artisan and crafter fair to drive people down on the south end of the mall.
See, this is what I'm talking about, the evolution over time and staying ahead of kind of the curve of like what's happening. I mean, just 7 out of 8 year rain out will do it to you too.
That's right.
Of thinking creatively, what else can I do to have a similar kind of audience and have an event that might even be different or better.
Right.
I'm excited to hear that you guys are going to still have the arts and crafts, because that was one of my favorite parts. It wasn't so much the Sunday of the weekend in the park, but I would go on Saturday morning, or like when the parade first started and there really weren't a lot of people, and then you make it way over to the parade. But I think once it moved to the fairgrounds, it just probably didn't work quite the same as it did when it was at Jim Barnett.
It was different, totally different. The big challenge, and folks don't see it, I see it because I used to work for the city. So I oftentimes I can put two hats on, because especially as the Parks and Rec director, because I know how trashed the park was, especially with the weather.
Yep.
I mean, John Rosenberger and I would stand at the back end of the War Memorial Building and just shake our heads, because there were trucks being pulled out of the mud.
Right.
And I mean, it would just destroy, some of the grassy areas.
Yep.
And so, understanding that perspective, but then also the city police department and sheriff's office, I mean, they're exhausted after two days of parades, and then throwing a third day out at the park where the traffic was just insane. So if you look at our programming now, you'll see a fair balance between what's happening in the city and what's happening in the county. So,
Share the wealth.
Well, yeah. I mean, but
And the, well, not necessarily burden, responsibilities.
yeah, responsibilities. I mean, we most of our apple orchards now are out in the county, so we see it makes sense to have some of that out there at some of the markets and whatnot. So we we tried to balance that out a little bit with regards to moving things out to the SU Event Center, creating those ag experiences. I've coined the phrase "putting the apple blossom back in apple blossom," because there are a lot of parties and it's a lot of festivities. But the reason we exist is because of the industry.
Right.
That's why we are here, and so we need to learn to celebrate that again. And so there's opportunities for us to be able to do that through cider tasting and orchard tours, through breakfast with Miss Apple Blossom, where they're out at West Oaks Farm Market, and the kids are experiencing a farm. They're going out to learn about the different types of apple trees. They're seeing the apple blossom, the apple trees in bloom. There are things like that that help us to get back to our roots. And I think that's one thing that we need to try to do. And I've been working really closely with the actual apple growers to come up with new ideas. They created a video about the industry and the history. And so we're trying to leverage that through our advertising to put that out there, either leading up or during apple blossom, but then also do it during the summer and the fall, because once harvest comes around, that's their bread and butter time.
Yep.
So, how are there ways that we can help leverage all of our marketing influence with the media to help spread the word about the industry as a whole and how it's transformed?
Yeah,
it's changed a lot.
Because it can turn into one big party. But the idea is, okay, what's the purpose? What are we celebrating? What's what's the industry? And how does that impact our town?
I always loved the Apple Harvest Festival, when they would have that whole pavilion set up with the different types of apples and the history of the apples. And Jim Robinson was there. Yep. And you always got your little apple sample or your apple juice or whatever it was. Yep. So that was really cool to have. It sounds like you're trying to kind of bring something like that back, but in like a media form.
Yeah, the Virginia Tech Cooperative Extension actually created a video, and they interviewed a lot of the apple growers in the area. And it's interesting because you're starting to see that being passed on to the next generation. You've got, Heather McKay out at Marker Miller, and you've got, others, Levi Snap, out at West Oaks. I mean, you're seeing, the next generation of farmers, apple growers, starting to take the leadership role. And, I've got I think, a very good relationship with them. And I just want to do more to showcase why we exist. And, it may mean, us repurposing I won't say rebranding, but repurposing that video and, taking it and putting it in different, media outlets. Like, can we partner with WDVM? Can we, can we put it out on our YouTube channel and push it out that way? Because we have a lot of followers. I mean, just surpassed over 40,000 just on Facebook just this past week. So we have the opportunity to be able to push that kind of information out so that a lot more people can see it. And hopefully what that means is that then people are coming in as tourists to come in and explore, to learn about, go to the markets, go to the different cideries. And so we really see ourselves as, kind of a catalyst, an economic catalyst. And we do. The things that we do, I'm sure downtown Winchester,
absolutely,
they see sales tax and meal tax revenue spike.
Absolutely,
Apple Blossom Week. So,
and it's expanded. I mean, I'm looking at the website now, and there's maybe almost 60, if I'm counting right, events close to that.
If you count each day of the carnival, it's well over 50.
Almost, yeah. And spanning from April 28th through May 7th. Yep. So again, it keeps evolving and growing. My question though is, what if somebody's listening and like, I have an amazing idea. Like you mentioned, you want to reach out to the community, and there's the Latino event, or you're like, there's a gap. Last year on Iconic Talk, we interviewed Della DeHaven, who launched the prayer breakfast many years ago. So if somebody locally has an idea like that and they come to you, how does that process work of somebody initiating adding to the whole festival?
Well, lots of people have done that. And a lot of the events that we now have were ideas that someone brought to us. Della had the idea, but then she also said, I'll help make it happen.
Help do it. Right.
And so, Della was very instrumental in the success, and it's still a sellout event. Mm-hmm. So folks are, if they have an idea or want to share anything, they can, reach out through our website, contact us through Facebook. We welcome new ideas. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to come up with all the best ideas. So we welcome those. I mean, if somebody wants to reach out, they can, either call us or email us or send us
That's cool.
a message.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, let it be a true community initiated event and activity and entire festival. But there's got to be a limit, right? I mean, there's only so much manpower to how you can pull these things off. I'm amazed at the quality and the excellence and just the logistics that go on.
And that's a volunteer-focused, volunteer-based organization. I mean, there's only 3 of us in the office and with a couple of contractors. And, it's amazing how the community comes together in a volunteer spirit to help make this happen.
It's truly volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any ballpark idea how many during the course of this year you might be having?
Probably well over 1,000.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I would say with all of the different events that happen, it's pretty incredible. I mean, we have, between our board and our event chairs, we have over 150 people just involved with that. And then each of the committees have their own series of volunteers, so doing different things. So it's quite the undertaking. Lots of evening meetings for me, because
I'm sure.
Obviously, people are working,
volunteers,
right?
And you got to work around their schedules. But yeah, it just could not happen without the volunteers.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Thanks to all those people who are listening, who are
Definitely.
participating.
Right.
Do you still do like a volunteer party at the end?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We used to do it the Monday after, and what we found was
Everybody was too tired.
everybody was too tired, but all these people would show up and they weren't volunteers.
It was like another event.
So I guess 2 years ago, when we sent everything out, this was post-COVID, but you couldn't do anything downtown, couldn't do parades. We decided that we would tie in our volunteer party with our end of year meeting, our annual meeting. And so, if you're on the board, or if you're a committee person or chair, you'd show up an hour early, and then we would have a big celebration. So the first year we did that was out at Cloverdale Barn, off of Cedar Creek Grade, and it was a lot of fun. And last year we did it at West Oaks, and we had a band, and the first year we had a DJ. So it was a totally different experience, but it also, everybody was kind of refreshed.
It's fun.
And it was kind of a night. It was an event just for them. It wasn't like just pizza and drinks. I mean, it was well thought out, and we wanted to make it special. So we do a year-end event for our volunteers, and it's usually sometime mid-June, right around our annual event time.
That's cool. Well, this year is the 96th festival. So we're going to start wrapping this up. I think we probably ask questions all day of you, or have you talk about it. What do you think about the number 100? Have you guys thought about that yet?
We've got a committee working on it. It's interesting. It'll be our 100th festival, which our 100th birthday is next year.
Right.
We started the same year that Hanley opened its doors. Their school year was 1923, 1924. The festival started in 1924. But we had 3 years of the war that nothing took place. So we're going to let Hanley celebrate their 100th anniversary, their 100th birthday. And we are going to celebrate our 100th birthday 3 years later. And so we've got a committee. They're starting to look, we're trying to figure out, what celebrities are out there that we could invite back as part of the celebration. What are some special events that we want to try to do? What are some commemorative things, things that collectors will want? There's
Right.
a lot of
I'm
collectors.
sure.
Yep.
Programs and lapel pins. And
How cool would it be to get like a queen float, like where just former queens, and hopefully they would come
queens.
back on their own without
Right.
having a little bit extra incentive, but just because they love the festival, but get like a float of just queens would be super cool.
That would be an excellent idea, because I think you could probably get quite a few of them to come back.
Especially because they're older and they'd have, probably a lot of them are, moms maybe, and have kids, can bring their families to the festival and just to participate in it.
I think you got somebody for the committee.
Yeah,
Right here.
there you
There you go.
The queen
Bring her
float.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many, over that 96 years, there's so many different things. Like coronation used to be on the steps of Hanley. I don't remember that. It probably moved inside before I was even born, but there was this, pomp and circumstance coming down the Hanley steps, and I've seen video of it in photos, and it's incredible. But you're dealing with weather.
Right.
Weather.
Yep.
So keep it safe. But wouldn't it be cool as the 100th that we bring that back? Cross our fingers and hope for good weather.
Yep.
But could we bring something like that back? So, but the committee's going to explore lots of different ideas. They're collecting requests and ideas from the community too, and we want to make this really, really special.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for being here. Before we let you go, we like to ask our guests 3 iconic questions. And so no pressure. Whatever first comes to mind, you can just blurt it out. So what do you like about your local neighborhood where you live?
Close to town. I'm in the county, so
Okay.
I'm close to town, close to Winchester Medical Center, close to recreation. I enjoy.
Real estate's all about location.
That's
location,
right.
Yeah, it is. That is true. That is true.
Speaking our language, Brad.
Right.
Second question.
All right, what's your favorite local restaurant?
Oh golly,
What's your go-to?
I got too many.
Put you on the spot.
We had Barry Lee last week, and he's like, I got 3. Is it okay? We're like, sure. Yes.
I love Manilettes.
That is great.
That is like, I don't like a lot of Mexican food, but if my wife says, do you want to go to Manilettes? I'm like, let's go.
Done.
Yep, yeah.
Yep. Get the lava salsa and
yes.
the chips.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is that the one over in Ward's Plaza?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't been yet. I keep hearing about it.
You got to go.
It's amazing what they did to the inside of that old
Yeah,
Hardee's.
it makes they
need
made
to
it
go.
next level. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, last one. This is a no-brainer, but give us your take on this. What do you think makes our area so special?
I think the people, even though we've got lots of new transplants, I think the core of this community is just kind, and we still hold on to and value some of those things that we grew up with, you know, the values. And again, the community is changing, but I think people move here for that reason, that they want a slower pace of life. They want to be able to enjoy time with their family. They want good quality schools. So I think, you know, that's why people, you know, come here, and I think that we all value that.
Well, we
Those
can
of us
attest
are
to that as real estate agents. We know for a fact the real estate market is such where everybody's attempting to move in and nobody's trying to move out.
Yes.
And that speaks to the community and the people around.
Quality of life.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Well, Brad, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for
You're
having me.
amazing.
Thanks, Brad.
Give us all the details. How do we contact not necessarily you, but just get the information of what's upcoming for the
Events,
festival?
tickets.
Yeah. All of our ticketing is now done online. You can go out to the www.thebloom.com and go to our events page, and you can scroll through and see all the different events. You click on an event, you can order your tickets. There's also information about the free events, you know, the days of the week that certain things are happening, the times, the locations. Anybody can reach out to info@thebloom.com. Try to keep it simple.
Yep. Good.
You know, if they have a specific question, or they can just give us a call or stop by. Phone number 540-662-3863. And we're located just down the street from you guys, 135 North Cameron Street, right across the street from the George Washington Hotel, right beside United Bank. So
Perfect.
We're right downtown.
Love it.
for being
Brad,
here,
thank you
Brad.
so much.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Well, once again, thanks to Brad. He is just a really cool guy.
Yes.
And down to earth. Sometimes you think if somebody in that position is like, you know, this is my job and I'm all excited to do it. He's so down to earth and just
Approachable.
and willing to talk to us. And as you heard, willing to entertain ideas.
Right.
You know, it's funny, after he left, you were just peppering him with all kinds of ideas. And I said, Megan, you're going to get signed up to be on some sort of committee pretty soon.
It's like, I'm good with coming up with stuff, but don't make me plan it.
But I learned so much. I mean, it's just fascinating that they're really attempting to cater to the community and really looking hard at every single event. Because as we said in the beginning, I mean, it has evolved over the years.
Right.
Where it's just not just a weekend festival. It is an entire week plus festival with over 50 events. That's a lot. That's a lot to maintain and to manage.
Right.
But it's just cool that they're thinking about each one of those events specifically to our community and what gaps might we have to support and facilitate, you know, where everybody who lives in town wants to participate.
Right. I think it was kind of cool that he's talking about doing videos about the Apple industry because we kind of talked about in the beginning of the episode that's kind of the basis. I mean,
Right.
Winchester, Virginia used to be the Apple capital of the world, or at least the country.
Yeah.
And that's why we were here. And that's what we were celebrating is because the apple blossoms are blooming, which means that things are going to start growing. The apples are going to be growing. And then we always had an apple harvest festival. It was nothing on this scale by any means, but when they were harvesting the apples back in September. So it's kind of, that's where it came from, to celebrate, you know,
Right.
what you know, supports our community from
Right.
years ago.
Right. And they're not just in it just to make money. It truly is. You go on their website, it is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. And so they're in it for the community. They're not in it just to add more events to make more money and make more profits. They're adding the events to enhance the experience for the community. And I love how he's like, we don't want to grow so much to where we forget about the purpose.
Right.
And the purpose is to just have a fun time as a community to celebrate apple blossoms because apples are kind of supporting our community. I mean, that's
Exactly.
one of the industries.
Right.
So we're kind of being thankful to the trees and the apple blossoms that support our community. Well,
I just think it was a great time with him, and it was so informative. And again, Brad is just so down to earth. I mean, I've known him since high school. Him and his family, just all great people. And
well, you guys go way back, so
we do. And I'm glad of what the community is doing and how they're also trying to make it what he was saying, bringing it, involving the kids a little bit more with sporting events.
Yep. I love it.
Make it letting them have those memories, so then they're going to want to come back and bring their kids in the future.
Yep. Well, over the next several weeks, we'll be intentionally plugging specific Apple Blossom events. So, but what's coming up here for this weekend? What kind of activities and events are in town?
We have an international fair of food and wine. It's going to be a fun evening with the silent auction and wine pull. That's on the 30th. That's tonight from 6 to 10 at the old Firehouse Barn. It's a benefit for the Wheels for Wellness.
Cool.
We've also got a spring bazaar. That's going to be on Saturday from 8 to 2. There's going to be all kinds of crafters and auctions, bake sales, face painting. That's at the Open Door Baptist Church in Clearbrook. This is funny. No, it's apparently not funny.
You're not allowed to be funny.
It's No Jokes Craft and Vendor Fair, indoor and outdoor, Saturday, April 1st, of course, because it's April 1st. There's going to be live music from 1 to 4 at West Oaks Farm Market, and it's free to attend, and there are going to be vendors and all sorts of things.
Do you do something for April Fool's Day? Is that something that you've ever done?
No, I'm one of those people that I don't like making other people feel uncomfortable, and I can feel it, so I'm terrible about like pranks and jokes and stuff like that.
No, that's not my style either. So.
No, my kids have tried in the past, but one of them did a really terrible one. But yeah, other than that, no. Let me just answer that with no.
Yeah, okay. Anything else?
We have a family-friendly kite fest. That's going to be on Saturday from 2 to 5 at Kernstown Battlefield. The first 24 families to arrive will receive free kites. And there's going to also be egg hunts for ages 2 to 6 and 7 to 11 with face painting and long games. So that's
this is the season for Easter egg hunts.
Right. Of course, this Sunday is Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's going to be Easter egg hunts all the following weekend.
Yep. Well, I'm excited. Spring is here, and we're talking apple blossom. We're talking Easter. We're talking fun things outside. I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of Iconic Talk. And we hope that you learned something from today's episode. I know I sure did. And just stay with us here with this podcast, because we look forward to sharing more with you even next week. Remember, when you're looking for a real estate professional, make sure that they are experienced, innovative, personal, dedicated, and available.
And we appreciate you spending some of your valuable time with us. And we can be found on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love it if you would take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends.
Yep. And thanks to our editor extraordinaire, Simon Caglio. Until next time, think iconic.